Welcome back to This Week in Indies. Come on. Welcome back to This Week in Indies. In a global world where everything is at our fingertips and it is moving so fast, is it ever a wonder why we need it? Welcome back to This Week in Indies. In a global world where everything is at our fingertips and it is moving so fast, is it ever a wonder why we need an escape? That just might be. Welcome back to This Week in Indies. In a global world where everything is at our fingertips and it is moving so fast, is it ever a wonder why we need an escape? That just might be why cozy fiction has the appeal. And given the necessity for people to find that hatch to escape into. Is it more than that, though? There is an intro, I promise everybody. I don't know what's going on. It's just being weird today. Anyway. Hello, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Indies. I am your host, Joe Compton. Nice to see you all. Welcome to the show. Sorry. I don't know. Technology sucks. I don't know why it won't play, but anyway. I have no idea. All right. Anyway, but we'll just leave it for that. Welcome to the show. Hopefully you all can see me. And yeah, I'm just a little thrown by the whole intro thing. So give me a second. All right. Welcome to the show. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We are going to get cozy, and I'm going to get cozy with the group that I have, my panel here, everybody. Thank you, Vanessa. Vanessa says, it's okay. We like seeing your faces. Let's go. All right. And hello, Tiffany. Nice to see you. All right. All right. So welcome to the show. Yeah, we're going to be talking about cozies, writing cozies, and reading cozies, and all the wonderful cozy things that we do. So let's get cozy and introduce ourselves. So Lily, why don't you start us off, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lily Lucchesi. I'm the USA Today bestselling author of urban fantasy paranormal mysteries. And I also write books as romance novels as Samantha Calcott and S.L. Sinclair. And I'm also the CEO and editor at Partners in Crime Book Services.
All right, Anita.
Okay, I'm Anita Stewart. I write under A.F. Stewart. I usually write horror and fantasy, but I have a cozy series, the Hayward and Anderson series, which is cozy mystery, cozy horror. And I'm also writing a paranormal mystery series as well.
Awesome. All right. All right, Sarah.
Yeah, hi. I'm Sarah. I write under S.G. Tosh. I write paranormal mystery and dark paranormal comedy. And while I don't really define my work as cozy, I do read a lot of it, and I have found some of the elements kind of finding their way into my stuff.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Green.
Hi, my name's David Green. I write epic fantasy, urban fantasy, and I have a cozy fantasy that is kind of been written and it is waiting to be published. And I read cozy fantasy as well.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Tan.
How's it going? I'm Brian Tan. I'm too lazy to write under any other name. I tend to primarily write urban fantasy, science fiction, and some aspects of horror. I never thought of anything that I wrote as being cozy, but then again, it's all, objective, I guess.
And that's a good place to start. I mean, cozy has defined itself a little bit over the last bit recently and kind of given us a parameter of what it is. But I think ultimately there's a lot of things we could label as cozy that were never labeled as cozy before, right? And because it's kind of a mindset, it's kind of an idea, right? So I'm curious from each of you, how would you define cozy? What is it about? What do you look for when you think about it being a cozy piece, either writing it or reading it?
Well, I think one of the main things about a cozy is there are low stakes in a cozy, right? If you've got something that's, I mean, like if you've got an epic fantasy, you're saving the world sort of stakes, right? But a cozy, it's just like you're solving the mystery. You have a little romance. There are smaller little stakes in a cozy, whatever.
Yeah, I have to build on what Ania just said. It's not just low stakes, it's familiar stakes. When you think of the word cozy, you think of a fire, you think of tea, coffee, a warm sweater, things that comfort you. And with a cozy, you know what you're getting. You know the hero is going to come out okay. Even if there's a cliffhanger, you know the next book, the hero is going to come out okay. The bad guy is going to go to jail. So you read them, it's a new story, but there's also this sense of familiarity that just, like you're coming home to a story you know you're going to love.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Game of Thrones, you could never be comfortable. Um, but in The Walking Dead, you know that you know Rick's gonna be okay, you know Daryl's gonna be okay, you know Carol's gonna be okay, and you know Michonne's gonna be okay. So no matter what happens, you know they're gonna be okay. So you could be cozy in that. Um, I mean, even in my writing, I try to make it action packed. I try to make it, I guess, and Joe, we had this conversation before. A lot of my writing is almost kind of like a throwback to 80s and 90s action where the hero is kicking ass, taking names, and even when it looks like he's getting the crap kicked out of him, he's like Lily said, he's going to come out on top.
So I slightly disagree about the low stakes side of it. I think like obviously it's not world saving stakes, and the stakes might not. So that the stakes have to really really matter for the person that is the kind of the story is about. So there might just be kind of, there might be completely personal stakes. So like the person next door or across on the other side of town or in a different city wouldn't care about them or know about what's happening with this story, but then the stakes have to really really matter still for that person the story is about, even if it is just finding a new way in life or where they belong, or achieving their heart's desire or finding the person that they love or whatever that is. So it needs to still have that kind of buy-in where it matters very very much to the people that are involved in the story, but like the rest of the world isn't going to care about it. It's not going to affect the rest of the world, which is obviously quite anxiety inducing when you think, which is what you kind of want to avoid in cozy fantasy. But it's still important that you kind of still want to have that. So I always kind of say, I run a workshop about crafting cozy fantasies and cozy stories, and I always kind of say, it's personal stakes, not low stakes, is what you kind of want to try to aim for. Because I think it's kind of one of those things that people that don't like cozy or don't really kind of appreciate it or are a bit dismissive of it, they'll say, well, there's no stakes in cozy and this and this and this. But so there's a balance there of getting it so it's still, the story still matters to the people that are involved in the story.
Yeah, and kind of to go off of that, I don't really write cozy, so I'm not going to speak with any real expertise as a writer, but as a reader, I've found all the cozy, I read mostly cozy mystery, and I found just the main character, like in order to care about the story, the main character and the satellite characters around them just has to be really likable. I don't know if morally gray really plays into it, whether that's like fine to be morally gray or if it's like hero and villain are very clear cut. I've always seen it very clear cut, but I could see it working with morally gray. But whatever the case, in order to be invested in personal stakes, the character, like the main character, just has to be really, really likable in whatever way makes sense for the story.
Yeah, and I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding. Low stakes for me doesn't mean no stakes. It means, again, non-world threatening stakes, non-anxiety inducing stakes. These stakes until book 5 of the Page Papillon Mysteries, all the first 4 books are very personal stakes. Page takes on mostly singular clients or helps out the local police, where it's going to affect a very small amount of people.
Yeah, I can tap dance to that tune. I guess that's also why Joe has Ed and Livy to, right there, because that's more of a very, very personal stake. It's basically the couple in question's overall happiness and the sort of quote unquote dastardly deeds that they're going to go through to get those stakes in their favor. Where Invincible Heart, that's more of fighting a national threat, and the John Baker and the Bryce Creed books, that's more world stakes. So yeah, I think that having low stakes, keeping that sort of personal, or just a smaller group of people, even a town size, like in the film The Crazies, those stakes they can become larger stakes, but it's more of a low tier.
So Vanessa brings up the point that I think there are very specific requirements for cozies in the same way there are very specific requirements for romance. So often with cozy mysteries, there's a lot of rules, right? There's little things that are put there. I'm not so sure about cozy fantasies and cozy sci-fi, but I think that's also coming in. They're starting to develop the same kind of framework as a cozy mystery. But in that vein, I'm wondering, how much play you have within the rules. Do you think the low stakes aspect is more about why the structure of the cozy, or do you think it's more of the aspect of the mindset of the cozy? I mean, do the rules play into how you write or read a cozy?
Yes.
No, go ahead, Anita.
I was going to say, for me, especially writing the paranormal cozy mystery, it's a low body count. And yeah, so you got to keep that in mind if you're going to writing any sort of a cozy. Especially if you're writing a mystery cozy, yeah, it's like 1 or 2 bodies tops, right?
Okay, now Joe knows, and some of the people who have seen me on multiple of these knows, I do like to play with the genres as much as I can.
Yeah.
Now, cozies were my mother's favorite. She loved cozy mysteries. There weren't as many paranormal cozy mysteries when she was young, and the books she got me started reading were more like Nancy Drew style. But of course, my love of paranormal, and one of the things I did in the first book is there's 3 corpses. Like the opening scene's a headless corpse.
Yeah, well, you can
and then
stretch it.
It goes, but the rest of them don't. But I like to have a bit of a body count. Again, I raise the stakes a little bit, but for me, the format of a cozy is, and Sarah touched on this, the character being a hero. The characters, you can stretch them to morally gray with some of the methods they use. Like Paige for herself, she's a hero. She's autistic. She has a very, very strong sense of right and wrong, just like me. So that feeds into the story. Another thing that feeds into the story is you're usually going to give the readers what they know is a red herring. You are not going to expect your readers halfway through the book to think that your hero is solving the mystery. But at the same time, you want them to also doubt themselves a little bit. You want that stake to go up just a tiny, be like, wait, was I wrong? Are these people actually villains? And then you want them to go through these very specific emotions that they have come to expect. So cozy and romance, romance has a lot of different, but like just general contemporary romance, let's say like a rom-com. And cozies, they have very similar rules in that you can make any story you want, but there are certain beats in the plot that you have to hit.
Yeah, I would like to say that morally gray probably can be used a lot more in something like cozy horror, because I've seen a few cozy horrors and their main characters are very morally gray.
There's a lot of there's kind of, as well as like the structure, there's a lot of tropes that you kind of have to be mindful of that readers will be looking for. In particular, it's the same with romance as well, and like any other genre, like there is certain tropes. You can kind of like, you can play with them, you can invert them, and you can do other things. But I think with Cozy, there is certain things that a reader will expect to see, and again, depending on what kind of genre of cozy it is, there's different ones. In terms of cozy fantasy, I think one of the big tropes is found family. That there's always an expectation to have some kind of thing on it, because I think, you know, with cozy in general, I mean, it came out of Eastern literature, particularly in Japan, and then it's obviously came into kind of mysteries and other things like that. But as it's kind of been spreading into other genres, it's very much been kind of the playground of own voice writers. So Lily was talking about how her character is artistic. My character is artistic as well. You have a lot of people that have characters of certain sexualities that are maybe underrepresented, but they tend to be own voice ones as well. So you have a lot of people trying to find their kind of group, their people, their way of life, and obviously, like, you know, found family is so heartwarming. Which kind of ties in so well with cozy as well, because at the end of the book or the end of the story, you want it to end on a really heartwarming beat, even if it is maybe a cliffhanger, maybe if it's a promise of another story. You still want to have that kind of, you know, if it's a piece of music, you want it to end on the swell, not on the build up or the plateau. It needs to be there.
I think that that's a really, like, I agree with that. And I think that's something that goes across any cozy genre. Like I said, I read mostly mystery, but like I expect by the end of the book, whatever has happened, the character is going to end up in a place where like their real self belongs and fits in. And because typically, especially in book one, like they're in a totally different location, they don't fit wherever they are, and then throughout the journey they end up kind of cozy in wherever they are.
That's literally exactly Daunting Darkness. Like,
There you go.
Trucy, Paige starts
There you
out,
go.
she just knows she likes solving mysteries. That's what she's good at. That's all she's good at. So she goes to the police academy, and she winds up having so much empathy that she can't pass the test. So she's again lost adrift, and you immediately start getting that sense of family because she goes to her childhood best friend, and then her mentors show up who give her a place where she slowly starts to belong. And again, she's thrust into the unknown with paranormal. But, you know, that is one thing, like, by the end, she has found her family. She has found these characters who are going to be with her for the rest of this series.
Yeah, and the found family thing is something, like I said, this is not a cozy, but it's something that I found sort of bleeding into this book from what I read. Although I play with it a little, because at the beginning, Adina, the main character, is estranged from her family, and through the course of the book, she finds her actual family again. So it's a little bit strange.
And I kind of like how you did that. And my comment on that, I'll answer Vanessa's question, where she's asking, is the process different? When I wrote Ed and Livy, I didn't even know, if you asked me if something's a cozy, my first thing would be tea cozy or whatever. No, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just writing a story that ended up, I guess, falling into that aspect, because, the lead character, Ed, he's in a loveless marriage with a child, and he's miserable, and he ends up having this traumatic event, and he ends up finding solace in the arms of someone else. And the issue that he's in, that you start to find out as the story goes on, is that he's completely isolated from his family due to his first marriage. So by the time we get to the end, he's got his own comfortable family unit, where you see this guy going through hell in the very, very beginning, and walking through hell to get to his ultimate goal, which is just to have his own bit of happiness, that little, that cozy feeling at the end of the day. So honestly, this book being Cozy was a complete accident.
Yeah, I set out to actually write Cozies when I was doing Daunting Darkness. I deliberately it was a book for my mom, and I inadvertently studied cozy mystery to the point. So my writing process didn't change while I was writing. I just, in my self edits, I go back and check. Did you hit the beat? Did you need to do this? Was that too obvious? Was that too violent? That's so my actual writing process never changed.
See, I'm too lazy. I just write a story, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, doesn't. I'm not. If I try to, I overthink things already so much that if I tried, I would legit end up never getting anything written. I guess I'm just I don't know. I'm just some dude that gets hit in the head a lot that just happens to be able to string enough coherent thought that it can be considered a story.
And on that note, we'll say hi to Sean. Hello, Sean. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to manipulate things here a little bit because for some reason my laptop doesn't want to cooperate. So I'm
That doesn't sound very cozy.
No, it does not. All right.
There's nothing less cozy than technology, I think, when you really.
Oh yeah,
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I threw a temper tantrum on my laptop.
Hello, A.L. Mangle. Nice to see you. All right. So, yeah, I mean, we started kind of answering that question already a little bit. So, Anita, do you want to chime in on that? Because I know you wrote directly a cozy for cozy's sake. Is it a different process for you? I mean, I got to imagine it is because.
Yeah, because I got to tone everything down. Literally got to tone everything down. But like the Headless Corpse in the Hayward and Anderson series, it was kind of a riff on Sherlock Holmes. So I had like a basis to start with there, like the whole Sherlock Holmes consulting detectives partner vibe. And I kind of pulled in all my Agatha Christie and all my British mystery ladies into the book. So I had a lot of basis to start with that series. So it was a little easier. Writing the paranormal cozy mystery, I have no idea what I'm doing. So, I mean, I was just, okay, taking all the ones I'd read and just going, okay, you need this and you need that and you need that, and just writing a story. It's going to need a lot of editing. That's all I got to say.
David, was it different for you?
Yeah, so I kind of came off writing. I wrote the last two books in an epic fantasy series before I wrote my cozy one, and that was, I think, together they were about 500,000 words, I think, and I wrote them back to back. And then I kind of just, obviously, with epic fantasy, you know, there's so much going on. There is so many kind of like world changing stakes, and it's very, very elevated. So I kind of just needed a break from that, really, you know, just to kind of give my, like, you know, I wanted to write something else, and I wanted to kind of give myself a bit of a refresh as well before kind of writing something with, you know, heightened stakes and all that kind of stuff again. So yeah, so I kind of, you know, approached it in a lot more of kind of taking that in mind of none of this is going to change the world that's happening, or, you know, it might change people's lives for the better in the story. That's what they're looking for, but it's not going to change, you know, the continent or the world or the country that it's set in, the nation or what have you. So it's kind of just kind of bearing that in mind and just going, you know, is this thing that you thought up, is it too big? You know, is this going to have, what are the ramifications of this thing that you have thought of for this particular part in the story? Like, you know, and follow that through to, like, you know, is this going to have a huge impact on everything else that's going on? And if that is the case, then maybe just to go in a little bit of a different direction. And also then just like kind of my own mindset. So I kind of like listen to music while I'm writing. So it was like, you know, instead of listening to, you know, Lord of the Rings soundtrack or the Witcher soundtrack, maybe listen to like lo-fi medieval tavern music instead, you know, just to kind of keep that kind of thing in mind and everything. And I think it's for me as well. I was writing an autistic character, so it was quite nice to do as well, because I didn't have to try to think of like, well, how do other people react in these sort of circumstances? I could just be like, well, this is how I would react in this circumstance, and this is how I think about this, and which was quite refreshing for a change, for not having to kind of like really delve, because I kind of think that cozy fantasy or cozy stories anyway are a very, very good way of getting very deep into characters. To really find out how they tick, because you're basically, it's a slice of life kind of thing. So you're seeing what they do day in, day out. You're seeing everything that matters to them. So a very, very kind of micro level. So to kind of do that with like an autistic character was really, really fun, because it was just so easy to kind of do it. I kind of felt, oh, this is what everyone else must feel like when writing like neurotypical characters, because I have to really kind of think about it and kind of make them act in a way that isn't like that kind of way. And it just the second part of that question about the mysteries and stuff. I mean, you can plan them out. I mean, I've done a couple where, like, my Nick Halloran books are very kind of mystery led, and you can plan them out. But I think Agatha Christie never used to plan out her mysteries, and she was like, I don't know until I come to the end, and then I figure it out. And it's like, if it's as much a surprise for the author as it is for everyone else, then I suppose that's a good thing,
Only the first book was a surprise. After that, she used the same ending 4 or 5 times. But yeah, otherwise,
like people would have forgotten about this one by now. Let's use it again.
I've done the opposite of that. I'll write. I know who's done it. I know what the ending is. I don't know how I'm getting there. So that's the adventure for me. So I hope the readers feel that too.
I have a recommendation for you, David, for your playlist. If you write another cozy. Check out Mark Gunn. He plays. He does like a folky. It's kind of like if Frodo had earbuds in walking the Shire kind of stuff. So
nice. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, so check him out. I think you'd enjoy that as part of your writing experience. So
I give it a try.
And he's got like 20 albums, so he's got quite a bit of stuff there, and it's all kind of Irish folky. So
nice.
Yeah, and it's very soft, so it would probably work for what you're trying to create. I was gonna ask, because you kind of brought it into the conversation a little bit, David. As far as cozies go, in the mindset of, God, I forgot how I was going to phrase this. Basically, when you're experiencing cozies, right? Is there? Gosh, okay. Bye, Vanessa. Sorry. I'm just so off today because my whole computer thing's throwing me off. All right. As far as cozies go, though, in terms of setting them up, and putting them together, is there a different, not mindset, but is there a different structure that you use for that? Is it different from your normal writing? Do you guys have to kind of, is there a certain act that you have to kind of pay more attention to than you normally would, or anything like that, in terms of the structural aspect of it?
Mine is more, what do I have to remove? Because again, and for some of my readers know, I mentioned on here before, the Paige Papillon world is set after the Paranormal Detective series ends. So there are certain specifics in that world that are very familiar. But if you know the Paranormal Detective series, you know that it's very violent, very action-packed, very curse words. So for me, when I know I'm going into writing a cozy, I have to sit there and I have to go, what am I taking out? What does not belong here that I wrote in my paranormal mysteries that were not cozy? So for me, it's kind of the opposite. It's I have to pay attention to what needs to be removed instead of what needs to be added. Because I've always done some form of mystery a little bit. Even in my non-mystery books, there's always a red herring and a plot twist. I enjoy writing those the most. So so it's a little bit, it's a little bit of a reversal for me personally.
Like I said earlier, I just start writing. I don't have for lack of a better term, the patience. Like I give credit to anyone that can, break everything down before, with what their work is going to be. I literally just, I get idea, I write idea, and if whatever it's going to be is whatever it's going to be. I really, I guess for lack of a better term, I don't feel that I'm seasoned enough to be able to do that. It's just, I start writing, and whatever whatever the story wants itself to be is what it ends up being. The only thing I throw into it are different situations and characters, but the the overarching story in and of itself is, it just ends up being what it is. That's why, I guess whenever someone asks me questions like that, I just make it simplistic. Hey, I remember having people ask me, well, how do I be a writer? Just do it. Well, if you're going to do this and you want to be this kind of writer, how do you do this? How do you do that? Just write, research and write. Look up what you're writing so that you don't seem like an idiot, and just write. If I tried to literally think of all that stuff, I would not be able to do it.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, I've always been of the opinion that like you can always fix anything once it's written down, but it has to be written down first, and you can shape it into whatever structure you need to after the fact. You don't really need to. You don't need anything to start except to write it, like you said.
For those of you who have written an actual cozy to write a cozy, does that fuck you up a little bit then, because your brain doesn't work like that? Because you want to just write, right? You want the first draft is usually I hate this term, vomit draft, right? But so is it different doing a first draft for a cozy that is going to be a cozy?
Surprisingly for me, yes, because I pants the whole thing.
Right.
And if anyone knows me, he knows I generally plot a lot. But with the Hayward and Anderson series, they are short stories, and I oftentimes do pants short stories. So that wasn't too difficult. But with the paranormal cozy mystery that I wrote, I pants the whole thing. Killer changed about 2/3 into the story. And one of the characters said, no, the person you think did it didn't do it. I did. Gave me a
Nice.
better ending, by the way. But yeah.
I'm working on book 4 of Page, and yes, the killer actually changed twice on me, because usually I go into these knowing who the killer is. And this is the first time the killer changed on me. That's why it's taking me so long to write now, because I don't do second drafts. I do a first draft, and then I clean it up. And that's what I consider a second draft. I don't do multiple drafts. The story's there. The word vomit is what comes out of my brain. And you technically, I guess you could say you see a third draft, but for me, I pants everything. Again, the characters, the stories usually just come right to my head and I just go with the flow. But when it came to specifically wanting a cozy, I knew the characters who came to me, like Paige came to me. Technically, her mentors came to me, but then she came to me and I'm like, okay, this is definitely going to be cozy. This is going to be cute. Paige, like, okay, the paranormal detectives world, I couldn't handle being Angelica Cross. I could handle being Paige. So that's kind of like, okay, got the character of Paige. I'm like, okay, I know what she needs. She needs less violence, less people trying to murder her 24/7. She doesn't need to go into hiding all the time, though she does in book 3. So that was kind of where my mind went. But when it came to plotting it out, I just knew, because I had such a familiarity with cozy mysteries. And I actually didn't read a lot of cozy paranormals. The closest I think I got to that is watching The Good Witch on Hallmark. So that was I just went with it. I think something that Brian said before about, research what you're writing. If you have a familiarity enough with the genre, I think that most great writers can just go into it and get it done without panicking too much.
I have a question for you, Lily. Do you know who the red herring is before you start?
Sometimes. I don't know
That
it.
to me is more interesting than who the murderer is.
Well, book 1 was very obvious to me.
Yeah.
And so was book 3. And book 3 is a big turning point for Paige and the character Zeke, who is the cop who helps her and who also works under Paige's mentor. But the very first red herring that came to me was in book 5.
Okay. Because I think you're one of the best at doing red herrings. You write them
Thank
very
you.
well, but
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, uh, you know, it's hard to fool me, but I do enjoy how the process is because I think it's very well written,
Well, my
especially
thing is, I
especially
don't go
Daunting
into.
Darkness. Daunting Darkness red herring is really well done. So
Thank you. I actually don't go into it to fool the reader because most cozy readers know the first
yeah, I
person they
think
suspect isn't going to be. I just want it to be interesting enough where the reader sits there and doubts themselves and goes, "Was I wrong? Is this person that page has to tail actually the villain, and they're not going to be here for the rest of the books?"
I think that goes along with the term cozy, right? It's you
Yes.
get cozy in knowing that, oh, this is going to be the way it's going to be. We'll
Yes.
talk about that too. Uh, let's okay. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try to get the indie connection up here from this computer. Hopefully it works. If not, then I'm gonna log in with my phone and do it from my phone. But we'll do the indie connection here. This is the best of. If you're a fan of the Good Omens, as I set it up, hopefully it works. Let's all right, everybody, cross your fingers. Here we go.
Hey guys, C.O. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. This week I'm going to be telling you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. The first book I have for you is called Kingston Reign and the Grim Reaper by Jackson Lear. Even the Grim Reaper can have a bad day. When one of hell's inept devils scares the wrong man to death, the Grim Reaper and Satan are forced to cover it up so that none of Limbo's liars can discover the truth. But this simple mishap sets off a chain of events that brings death face to face with someone who has the power to strip him of all of his authority, a bureaucratic angel desperate to upend the afterlife and rule with an iron fist. If death has any hope of saving mankind, he must put his faith in the one man more troublesome than Satan himself, Kingston Reign. The second book I have for you is called The Book of Bart by Ryan Hill. Working for the man upstairs stinks, but working with Samantha, an angel in training, offensive. Only one thing is so powerful, so dangerous, that heaven and hell must work together to find it. The Shard of Gabriel. With a mysterious black cloud of death hot on the Shard's trail, a desperate heaven enlists the help of Bartholomew, a demon who knows more about the Shard than almost anyone. 6 years ago, he had it in his hands. If only he'd used it before his coup to overthrow the devil failed. Now he's been sprung from his eternal punishment to help Samantha recover the Shard before the black cloud of death finds it. If Bart wants to succeed, he'll have to fight the temptation to betray Samantha and the allure of the Shard. After an existence full of evil, the only way Bart can get right with hell is to be good. The third book I have for you is called Paternus, Rise of Gods by Dirk Ashton. Even myths have legends, and not all legends are myth. When a local hospital is attacked by strange and frightening men, Fiona Patterson and Zeke Prisco save a catatonic old man named Peter and find themselves running for their lives with creatures beyond imagination hounding their every step. With nowhere else to turn, they seek out Fi's enigmatic Uncle Edgar. But the more their questions are answered, the more they discover that nothing is what it seems. Not Peter, not Edgar, perhaps not even themselves. The gods and monsters, heroes and villains of lore, they're real. And now they've come out of hiding to hunt their own. In order to survive, Fi and Zeke must join up with the powerful allies against an ancient evil that's been known by many names and feared by all. The final battle of the world's oldest war has begun. And the last book I have for you is called There's Something the Matter in Hell by Robert Mackey. Little Abigail Farnsworth Fisk III is the favorite sophisticated 11-year-old of Manhattan's Upper West Side, until a piano falls on her head, kills her, and obliterates everything she thought she knew about the afterlife. After finding heaven to be unconscionably boring, Abby does the unthinkable, and opts to be sent to hell instead. But the underworld has problems of its own. The employed torturers are exhausted, yet scared out of their minds. Some of the inhabitants should never have been sent to hell in the first place, and things have really run themselves into the ground. With the help of Axel, a boy who was wrongly sent to hell as an axe murderer, and Willie, a demon who made one too many mistakes, Abby embarks on a mission to get herself the hell out of there. Along the way, a bevy of moronic, disturbing, and completely unworthy characters join her, only to find that God has left his godly duties behind him, and Satan just wants a friend. In this hysterical, irreverent romp through the afterlife, Abby and her friends use any form of manipulation at their disposal to bring just a little bit of happiness into even the darkest places. Okay, that's all I have for you this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye.
Okay, things just are not working out for me. As you can hear in the background, my coffee is brewing. I have just had horrible timing today. But it is National Coffee Day, so I'm kind of advertising National Coffee Day for you all. So there you go.
I need more. I need more of the coffee. I need so much more of the coffee.
Well, you're driving. You could easily go
Always.
somewhere to get coffee. That might be an interesting thing if you're going through the drive-thru.
Oh,
We've
I
not had
know.
anybody go through the drive-thru.
I'm planning. I'm probably gonna, because I'm doing all kinds of running around on a day that was supposed to be relatively mellow. I'm running around like Jesse Owens. So
I was going to mention for people who are nostalgic and have been following us for a while that the Indie Connection that might have brought a warm hug to you as you saw. That was one of the episodes that Courtney used to do from her car when she originally started this. She used to do them from her car. So if you remember those days, there you go. You got one of the nostalgia ones there. And I looked it up. Dirk Ashton is a real person. It's not a pen name, which is interesting. I just looked that up while that was going on because I thought that was fascinating. Anyway, all right. Everybody's like, what the fuck is Joe talking about? Anyway.
that took me back to Mystery Men, where Ben Stiller's trying to say his name is Dirk Dark. Dark.
I just figured somebody who spelled their name that way, it either had to be a real name or it's the worst pen name ever created. But
Someone's name.
It's a real person. So
I can try to come up with worse.
well, I'm sure we all could, but let's not do that right now. I remember what I was actually going to ask you before, because David had brought it up, and that is the idea of what cozies do for us, right? There's a certain expectation we have with cozies that they kind of take us away, right? It's kind of like, for me, it's 80s comedies or 80s music that kind of takes me away from the pantheon of this horrible world that we live in right now, and all the garbage that goes on a daily basis. It's kind of this nice little refreshing thing. Do you all find that? I'm wondering for those who write it, is it just as cathartic experience as for the reader? Do you find that it's an interesting? I mean, David, you kind of already answered this question, but for Nita and Lily, I mean, is it something that you guys go, this is nice to give my brain a break a little bit?
Yes, it is. One of the things that I have always done, and I've always been told that I did well, is I don't always have Hollywood endings in my books. There's always, most of my books, there's, the conflict gets resolved, but there's always just kind of something that's not typical about it, not like 100%, oh, happily ever after. Well, my romances, yes. The books is Lily Lucchesi, those don't have the typical ending. So when I'm writing this cozy, I do feel the way that I feel when I, would sit down and watch the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel with my mom. And, especially during the Christmas season, the Christmas mysteries, those would just be 24/7. Like, the TV didn't turn off. It was just the two of us chilling. So that's kind of how I feel writing Paige. Like, it's a comfortable familiarity. You're going to find the main character, you're going to find the love interest, a very low stakes love interest, where they're going to kind of argue and not like each other, but they're getting together. They're going to have the quirky best friend, and they're going to have a cop or some sort of mentor. And there's usually also a cop who hates their guts. Those are a type of characters you typically find. So
and the evil mother-in-law.
There, yes. I think you read book 3, Werewolf Worries. Yeah, Zeke's family, Paige's future in-laws, are not good people. But it's one of those things that when I'm writing it, it does give me that satisfaction. Like, I know I'm going for a happy ending. You know, the real world. That's why I write paranormal in urban fantasy sense, because the real world, it's boring on one hand, and on the other hand, it really is not the greatest place all the time. So I make the real world this wondrous place where monsters exist and magic exists, and you know, you got little shape-shifting cats and very cute things that can be pictured in reality. And again, that leads you towards this happy ending. Like, yeah, you know what? Real life may be fucked right now, but this book is not. This book is this little.
Yep, I'll definitely agree to that. Ed and Livy, that was my therapy from my divorce book. You know what I mean? And it really helped me to sort of come to grips with what was the new normal, what was going to be the new normal. You know, that, you know, I would have this instance in my life where, you know, I would just have this particular instance in my life that would never go away. So this book sort of that writing that book sort of helped. Same way that, you know, when you watch the Fast and the Furious, you know, we watch you watch those movies for the fast cars, the ridiculous stakes, and the family aspect. You know, it's meme worthy now, but you know, for me, what drew me into that original movie was the found family aspect of it. You know what I mean? And it makes you feel nice and gooey inside to see, you know, something, you know, see that, you know. So yeah, I think that it's cathartic for the writer the same way as it is for the reader.
Yeah, for me, the Hayward and Anderson series, I really enjoyed that one because writing Elspeth and Lars and their partnership is like so much fun, especially Elspeth, because I mean, she's got such a passion about her detective work, and yet she is so over the top because you know this is a woman who has never met anything she wouldn't shoot. She loves she loves dynamite. Lars won't let her use it, but she loves dynamite. And poor Lars kind of got blackmailed into being her partner. Actually, really, so he's sort of in a world where he kind of likes it, but he's really scared of it, and he really just wants to sit in the drawing room and drink his tea and read his
Mhm.
paper. So the dynamic between those two is really fun to write. The paranormal cozy mystery was not as much fun, mostly because my muse got drunk and made me write it. But now I'm stuck with it. Although, you know, I do like the character and it is set in Nova Scotia, so that was fun to play with because
Nice.
I got to pull in some of the rum running history into the first book. So that was fun. So it's growing on me, that one. So yeah.
I have to
I just have
imagine.
to add real quick. I have the extreme pleasure of editing some of the Hayward and Anderson mysteries. And if you do not read those and fall absolutely in love with Elspeth and her quirkiness and her attitude, there is something wrong with you. Like, she's one of my favorite characters.
I'm curious, David, because we've talked about this before, but Nick Halloran is kind of an escape for you in a lot of ways too. Do you find that gives you a sense of a little bit of a? I mean, it's noir for the most part, you know, but it has a little coziness to it because of it's a different tone for you, a different escape route for you, and it's a different world for you even.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it used to. There's a big like. I mean, all of my kind of series and works have a big found family theme in them always because
Mhm.
it's something that's important to me and it's what I look for as a reader as well. I enjoy writing about it. But yeah, the last Nick Halloran book was like the toughest book that I've ever written, and the whole experience of it was horrific from start to finish. So no, it wasn't particularly cozy to write that one at all. It was so I went from writing something that was really really nice to write cozy book and it was a cozy story. It was cozy to write it. I had a great time. To like, you know, the toughest book ever. So I'm writing something a little bit cozier this time now, which is like kind of it's a fantasy. It's like a D&D based fantasy world, and the main character is a therapist for adventurers. It's the first therapist for adventurers, and it's kind of like a cozy adventure kind of thing. Which is again, it's fun to write, and it's nice because after, but with the last Halloran book, there was a lot of like personal circumstances coming into that, which, like, you know, I had pneumonia, I had like dental surgery, I had like all different infections, I had like recoveries, I had all sorts of stuff going on. Like when I was trying to write this book, and I was like, I just hate it. I was like, it needs to be over. So no. Yeah, but it used to be. I mean, I think, you know, it's one of those things. It's like that cliche of like, you know, a change is as good as a rest. And that was what I used to kind of look at with the Halloran books and working on my epic fantasy. But then I've realised that a rest is as good as a rest, and you should take it sometimes. No, I think, you know, so the wider question in terms of what people look for. I mean, obviously, writers write for a reason. A lot of it is because we have a story that we want to tell, or, you know, sometimes it can be cathartic and the other reasons. But for, you know, readers look for different things in cozy, and sometimes it is. I mean, you know, there is some things that you can look back on and say, well, this makes me feel cozy when I'm. You know, you get people that watch horror films or stuff about serial killers, and they go, this is making me feel nice, I love this. But it's not necessarily cozy in terms of like the wider kind of thing. So the people that kind of look for this kind of thing in particular, it is, you know, it is maybe that there is a lot of stuff going on in the life that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and it's an escape for them in terms of where they don't have to. There can be peril in it, and there can be, you know, how is this going to work out? But there's never any doubt that things will work out, you know, and that's comforting. And a lot of times with cozy as well, even if there can be little cliffhangers or hooks to other stories, they tend to tell a complete story inside that book, which is also comforting because closure is comforting. And one of the other things I think that the kind of people look for with cozy is that not only kind of the way it's going to make them feel, but it's also that they can recognize themselves very, very clearly in the characters. Now, when you kind of look at things that are kind of more elevated with stakes, there might be this doesn't go for you, Joe, because you famously don't like Lord of the Rings, but we can all look at Aragorn and go, we aspire to be like Aragorn, we aspire to be like Faramir, we aspire to be like Eowyn, or people like this that are like these larger than life characters. But are we much like them? No, most of us are probably more like the hobbits than anyone else that are in Lord of the Rings, really, if we're true about it. But like cozy is the story of those people. You know, the cozy ones are the stories of the tea makers, the librarians, the healers, the things that we are. You know, the writers, the other things, and we can see ourselves, we can see our lives reflected in these kind of more kind of slightly elevated circumstances of a fancy world or a paranormal world, and it's great for people to read that and go, you know what, these people have like that are like me have these hopes and dreams, and it works out for them. Maybe it's going to work out for me as well. And I think that's something that readers want to find in these kind of books.
I want to, the thing you said about true crime, in my third misadventure book, there's literally a line that true crime stories work better than Ambien for her. So and I feel like that's very indicative of the kind of, if this was any sort of cozy, it's very much that. It's like the kind, a person who watches true crime would find this cozy, probably.
I was going to say,
as one of those people who watches true crime for comfort, yes, I can relate.
Yeah, me too.
I was also going to say, anybody who misses like Suncoast Video, one of these panelists wrote a book about being in a mall. So if you're cozy about mall stuff, you know, I think Sarah, your mall book might be cozy, and you just don't know it for a lot of people. Especially of my generation.
Well, maybe it'll be probably a little bit nostalgic. I don't know that I would go full cozy.
Look, zombies and weird shit happens all the time, so I'm not worried about
I mean,
it.
that's true. I guess some people do find Evil Dead cozy and charming in its way.
Yeah, I
So
do.
sure,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
not?
Ash is a very very cozy person to me for sure. Uh,
I would not feel cozy if Ash
no.
was in charge of my safety to any degree.
I would not either.
If Ash is in charge of any of us, our safety, we might as well just be ready to be a deadite now. Just give
I
up
mean,
now.
the
I mean,
one
he's
thing
very good at what he does, but
I was just gonna say
by
the
Yeah,
one
for
thing
accident.
himself.
the one
True.
thing you can depend on Ash for is that he'll take responsibility and jump in front of you. That's the one thing he'll do. But
That's
Paige would
true.
need that
After
if
trash
she was in
talking.
that world because she would just freeze. She would shut down. She would see. First of all, she would see something that was gone basically around the time she was born because she's younger than me. I was the one who used to go to Suncoast, not her. And then she would just shut down. So she would need someone jumping in front of her. It would not be cozy.
that's funny. All right,
Yeah.
all right. So you all ready to ask me some questions? I'm dawning a personality here, and so we're gonna do 20 questions, and maybe you've seen this before, maybe you haven't. Basically, I am a famous literary character right now, and you have to guess who I am. And you have 20 questions to do so. I'm going to go down the line and let each of you ask one question, and then it'll be free for all from that point forward. So feel free to jump in after that, but we'll just go the way I see it. So Lily, Sarah, Anita, David, and Brian. So if you want, I'm not going to give you any hints this time, so you're just going to have to figure it out for yourselves. So Lily, you want to ask the first question?
Where are you from?
A land far, far away.
Are you a man?
Yes. Well, most of the time.
Are you human?
Yes. David?
How tall are you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I know that answer. I'm probably 6 feet, 6'1", something like that, I guess. I'm a normal sized man. Let's put it. Well, that's hard to say because I vary. I can change sizes. Brian?
What is your primary method of transportation?
My feet. Chevrolets, baby.
I need that.
Actually, it's probably a horse, to be honest with you. But
Okay.
Are you from a Stephen King series?
no.
Do you live in a historical or a modern setting?
Well, for that person, they would think it's modern, but for you, it would be historical.
Is it contemporary or fantasy?
It's fantasy.
How old are you?
I vary in age.
Are you associated with a color?
In which way? My name?
In any way, whether it's your name, what you wear. Are you
Yeah, there's
associated?
a recognizable color.
Are you Gandalf?
I am not. Is that a guess or are you asking a question? Because you're either wasting a question or you're wasting your. Everybody here gets one guess, by the way.
That was a question.
Wasted a question for everybody. All right.
All right. What is your primary medium? Film, comic, or television? Or book?
I am two of those things. I think you could probably guess which two I am.
I have an idea, but I don't want to waste my guess.
You're at 10 questions, y'all.
What is your usual color of hair?
Gosh, probably black. Dark. Doesn't mean I can't change it. And I have.
Do you carry a mantle? Like, in other words, is your name associated with a mantle in much the way that Peter Parker is Peter Parker, Miles Morales is Miles Morales, but they both carry the Spider-Man mantle?
Yes.
Okay. Are you Ghost Rider?
Is that a question or a guess?
That's my guess.
Nah, you're done. It's no, I'm not Ghost Rider.
Okay. I
You
was
can
close.
still ask questions, Brian, but you can't guess anymore.
Okay.
What decade was this book that you are
All
from
right.
written in?
Done. Close the door.
70s.
I'll do.
There's a problem with that. Does he mean 1870s or 1970s?
You just asked for the decade. I didn't.
I know, that's why I'm pointing it out.
I presume it's the 1970s. There wasn't much fantasy in the 1870s.
I will give you that one. It is 1970s.
Are you a character from a DC comic?
I am not.
Were you written by Terry Brooks?
I was not. You're at 15, y'all.
I know whenever this is revealed, I'm like slap myself in the head.
Probably. I mean, you all guessed it last time that you all thought that, so you still got time. You got 5 more questions, although the audience is probably falling asleep at this point. But
not what you consider yourself. Do readers or viewers consider you a hero or a villain?
Both.
I was trying to avoid that answer.
Do you live on Earth?
I think it's on Earth. It really doesn't specify, but yes, I think it is. It doesn't really specify in the book.
Or Earth adjacent?
Yeah. I mean, it's recognizable. Let's put it that way, as like an Earth aspect. I'm pretty confident it's Earth, but and they might say it in the book. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
What actor played you in the adaptation?
There were several.
You can pick the most famous one.
I could, but that's not the question.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I will say, if I tell you, you would all you would know who it is. So I'm not going to.
Well, that's a good question to ask, then, isn't it?
Well, I mean, technically, yeah, I would have to answer with all of them, all the people who played it, and then you would definitely know who it is. And I'm not going to do that.
I'm kidding. Let me see here.
You have 3 more questions, y'all.
Who is your popular sidekick?
There is none.
If you have one.
Well, certain versions of me had a sidekick, certain versions did not.
What is the name of your main?
Certain version had one, but
I'm sorry, Sarah?
What is the name of your main love interest?
I'm not answering that question.
Oh, come on.
Then it shouldn't count.
Then
it does not count. I will not count it. But if I tell you that, you would know immediately who it is. I'm gonna make it a little bit hard for y'all.
Who directed one of the film adaptations?
I might as well give you that one because we're down to the end, and once I tell you, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Rob Reiner.
Do you have a catchphrase?
Yes. One more question, y'all, and then the four of you have to guess, unless you want to guess now, which I'm fine with too. I think Brian knows who it is, but he can't guess. So be quiet, Brian. Although he's frozen now, so
I think his feet's stuck. I can't guess. Everything I have is written in the wrong year. Everything in my mind's in the wrong year. So
all right, guys, do something.
we're boring.
Have you been known as a pirate?
Yes.
Are you the Dread Pirate Roberts?
I am.
Excellent.
I've gotten that. I would not have gotten that one.
Nope.
You said pirate. I'm thinking Johnny.
I have to be very careful to say, are you Wesley or are you the Dread Pirate Roberts? I will not say Wesley. What I didn't.
You got it. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The poor viewers, though, they're probably guessing too. We think we're boring them. They're probably guessing too. Like
They are, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, I am the Dread Pirate Roberts. So
my first thought is you were going to do like Hercule Poirot. And I'm like,
no, I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep it where everybody. I mean, I think everybody on this panel's seen the Princess Bride, right? So
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was headed. I just wasn't quite sure because the 1970s book thing kind of threw me.
yeah, it was 1973. It was released. So
Yeah.
my birthday. It was near my birthday actually. The year I was born. Anyway, all right. So let's go down the line and say goodbye to everybody. Tell everybody where you're at. Brian, we'll start with you since you've been cutting out.
Yeah.
Tell everybody
sure.
where they can find you, sir.
Honestly, the best way that you're going to find me is anything that's Go Indie Now related. At this point, my website is gone. You can search my name on Amazon to get to my books. If you really, really, really want to talk to me, and I don't know why you would ever want to do that, you can always just search my name on Facebook. I'll come up in somehow, some way. Or if you need to contact me about something, ask Joe. Joe or Lily are the best way to reach me at this point. I've sort of gone into my own version of witness protection.
But if you do need a car and you live in Pennsylvania, hit me up and I will get you to Brian.
Yeah, if you're looking for a vehicle and you live in Western Pennsylvania, or if you want to travel to Monroeville, Pennsylvania, check out Monroeville Mall where they filmed Dawn of the Dead. I can tell you a ton about that. And then come buy a car because you've got a friend in Brian Tan.
Awesome. All right, David.
You can find me on my website, davidgreenwriter.com. All my social media stuff's there, and my books as well.
And you just released a new one.
I did, yeah. It feels like so long ago, but it was this month. Yeah, the latest Nick Halloran book just came out on the 1st September, which is kind of like the end of that first story arc. So it's a good time to kind of catch up.
Nice. All right, Sarah.
Yeah, so you can find me and all my stuff at sgtosh.com right there. I actually just had a book come out this month too, the third in the Death by Misadventure series. And this is not a final version, but I'm going to show it anyway. I just got the proof of my hardcover version. So very exciting. That'll be coming out in October. Yeah, I know. It's really cool. And yeah, sgtosh.com. That's where you can find all my stuff.
Thank you. We love exclusives here. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I haven't showed that to anyone officially yet.
That is awesome. Anita?
Okay, so you can find me at afstewart.ca. All my socials, all my books, everything's there. And I also have a new book coming out on October 15th. It's the fourth one in the Hayward and Anderson series. And it's Rivalry and Steam Monsters, where Elspeth and Lars go head to head with an eldritch god.
Nice. I almost put that cover up, but I don't know if you had revealed it yet, so I didn't want to do that. Lily?
Hi, everyone. So happy to have been here again. I am Lily Lucchesi. You can find me under that name on all forms of social media. It's usually just at Lily Lucchesi. I am most active on Instagram and Facebook. And I also run, as I mentioned earlier, Partners in Crime Book Services, where I offer editing, cover design, formatting, marketing help, and a whole plethora of other things for indie authors and small press publishers. I also write romance as Samantha Calcott and extremely dark romance and taboo romance as S.L. Sinclair. And actually, just today, I released my novel Acts of Contrition as S.L. Sinclair. So if you're into Stockholm Syndrome, murder, and redemption, maybe not redemption is the right word, that would be a great book to check out. Or I will also have some news on the last two books in the Page Papillon series under the name Lily Lucchesi very soon. So please stay on all of my socials to get all of the information for those books.
Nice. Everybody do that, please. All right. I'm Joe Compton. This is Go Indie Now. Today, I'm representing Falstaff Books, my 2023 indie publisher of the year. Everybody go check out Falstaff Books. They've got really wonderful, wonderful books and really great stuff. I'm actually reading one right now that is very good. So you'll get a review of that very soon. And just remember that it's always time to go in now. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Oh, I did want to mention one thing before we go. Because of the hurricane, we did not do First Time for Everything on Thursday afternoon. It will air today at 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you're around, go check out First Time for Everything. Deborah Parmalee is the guest. I think it's going to be an awesome First Time for Everything because Deborah has been in this business a long time and done a lot of great things, especially in the romance genre, and is now heading into the fantasy genre. So that's going to be a really great conversation between her and Juliet Rose. That'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is live, and they're doing that show today. And the link is already there, and you can go check it out on our front page. And then, like I said, just come back at 4 p.m. Eastern, and you'll be able to watch it live. All right, everybody. It is always time to go indie now. Bye.